right, we'll say this about Wall Street. It'll try to make a buck off anything, even diseases. I'm not saying these fellows are opportunists, but they do see what's going on out there. Matt McCall, Kevin Kerr. Kevin, oil's been interesting in this, and that's one of your many specialties. But what do you make of what's been happening with oil?
Well, this is fear. You know, we've seen over the last 2 days, Neil, we've seen oil drop about 4%. So it is already having an impact. People
well, is
are
the fear that demand is siphoned off as we all just slow down, economies slow down? What's the deal?
Absolutely. We saw it with the SARS virus in Asia. It absolutely destroyed the economy over there. Travel came to a grinding halt. People aren't going to work. You know, there's a lot of what-ifs here. I mean, as this progresses and we see more cases, it's going to impact the markets as well, and we're going to see oil prices drop considerably if this thing continues to spiral out of control. Now, again, it may not go any further than it is now, or it may get considerably worse. That is going to have a lot of bearing on where oil goes next.
What do you think, Matt?
You know, I think oil is really slowing down because they think, well, if Mexico's economy is going to slow down, go back to '06. See what happened when the bird flu hit Asia. They took a multi-billion-dollar hit in their economy. So that's going to lower the demand for oil. So I see where Kevin's coming from here, that, you know, there is that fear if it turns into a pandemic, it's going to slow down the economy that's already on the edge already.
But there are always winners in this. You guys are smart enough to always find, you know, the lemonade and the lemons. And I guess the maker Purell does well. I guess the, you know, CVS, some of these that cater to having the products that a lot of folks need in times like these. They do.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson, for example, makes Purell. They're going to do pretty well. 3M makes the mask that everybody you see wearing on the TVs right now. You look at some of the antiviral drugs. GlaxoSmith makes an antiviral drug. Gilead Sciences, which are biotech, they developed Tamiflu, which is another antiviral.
But are these like one-shot wonders? We're going to talk to one of these mask makers later in the show, and I always wonder, they're pop events, aren't they?
The bigger companies I just mentioned aren't, because they have a lot of different products. But there's some smaller names that I'm not going to talk about because they're very small companies. But they've popped 100% over the last 2 days. I look
just
back,
on this?
Just on this news. I look back in '06. The same thing happened within 2 months. They both came back down to earth. So, yeah, you're right. They are short-term pops.
Kevin, if you're right, and this does lead to sort of an economic slowdown, just as we were hoping a lot of these economies would recover, then what? What happens to oil?
Well, you know, oil definitely has a lot more downside risk right at the moment than it has upside risk. It could really push things back. You know, we're looking at the front month's contracts probably drifting lower. We could go considerably lower. I mean, look,
what's considerably lower?
$35 a barrel, you know, maybe even lower. If demand really starts to clench off and we start seeing people not going to work, being ordered to stay home, you know, I mean, we're talking dramatic moves here by the governments around the world. That could definitely slow demand. Supplies are already pretty strong. We've been seeing strong supplies weekly. So it wouldn't take a lot to push those prices lower.
I always wondered, Matt, if now all of a sudden responding to governments overreacting, they've been overreacting to the whole financial crisis.
Exactly. But then there's also created opportunity in this overreaction for investors that...
You are a very upbeat guy. Do you know that?
I try to be. I try, but, you know, it's tough. You know, you turn on the news right now, and you kind of have to go against the masses. The masses right now are freaking out. They're panicking. But within that carnage, there's opportunity.
Those are just CNN viewers. But
yeah.
Your point is what? That stepping back from this, there are short-term opportunities, but they're not necessarily the long-term bets, right?
Exactly. There are short-term opportunities on the some of the antiviral drugs. However, if you turn it the other way, a lot of areas gotten hit. Mexico, for example, stock market down 8% the last 2 days. This is after hitting a 3-month high on Friday. So there's some good promise in Mexico. Use some of this pullback that we're going to have in these 2 weeks as an opportunity to invest in Mexico.
You know, Kevin, Mexico's a bit... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I have to agree, Neil. You know, there's parts of the commodities markets that have been crushed in this. The soybean market, the grains, the meats, you know, on fear of getting the disease from pork, which is just not how you get it. You know, all these things will come to light, and of course those commodities will be back in demand. There's some good bargains out there right now.
Pork will be back in demand?
Yeah, I believe that, and soybeans and some of the grains that have just been crushed in this move on fear that imports will come to a grinding halt, that people won't be eating anymore. You know, a lot of this is hysteria in many ways.
I eat when I'm worried, but that's just me. Guys, I want to thank you both.